everyone, to the Politics of Survival. And yes, I am in America. I came in about a month ago for several reasons. One of the biggest reasons was my daughter got married, and that was a beautiful ceremony. It was very private and small and intimate and beautiful, and I was very, very lucky to be there. I did not experience any hassles, and I really credit Tucker Carlson and my attorneys, John Levy and Rada Sterling, who worked so hard all year to clear the path for me to be able to come home and come out of political asylum. So I want to thank them. I also want to thank the Russian Federation, who really opened their arms to me and was very warm and very hospitable. I had a wonderful time in Moscow, Russia, and other places that I visited, like St. Petersburg and Vladivostok and Sochi and some of the villages around the Caucasus and the rural areas. I got to visit a lot of Russia, and I just loved it more. The more I stayed, the more I loved it. And, America's always going to be my home, but I would encourage everyone to look at other countries. And, if you can have dual citizenship and explore that, regardless of where the country is, it's an interesting thing to do because if your government's going after you, like the DOJ and FBI that was weaponized by Biden to go after me, it's nice to have alternatives. It's nice to have another place to be and be safe. And, I really owe a lot to the people that surrounded me and protected me, and RT as well. RT International were wonderful to me and are wonderful to me. So I wanted to say thank you to all my supporters. I've got a whole bunch of new supporters. I'm at 158,000 now on X and 30 subscribers. So thank you to all the new people that are following me, and to the people that attended last night when I was doing an X thing. I have been very fortunate to have people very, supportive of what I'm trying to do as a whistleblower to expose Joe Biden, his corruption, what he did to me in 1993, and then the way he covered up that, and then also has had the DOJ and FBI weaponized against me. And so I've been very fortunate to have people really rally around me, despite the way the legacy media in the West has vilified me. So I wanted to give my gratitude, and also to INN and to Reef, who's producing the show, and also to Indy, and to Greg, who does graphics, and to Jesse Jett, who's this amazing musical, phenomenal talent who did the intro that you heard and does the outro. So thank you to all the people who, because it really helps me stay grounded and helps me move forward. And so as you all may know, I am filing my lawyer. We have a petition, which Reef will show you here and then have down in the comments. I really would love your signature. What it will allow me to do is my attorney will be going to Merrick Garland and demanding an investigation, but we need a mandate. We have a few thousand signatures. Really, to have a real mandate, there needs to be close to 10,000. So if you can get this shared, sign it. If you feel in your heart that this is the right thing to do, this will at least investigate Joe Biden with an objective investigation for criminal charges, which has no statute of limitations in DC for a third degree sexual assault. So I really want to try to get some justice. Now, I have not heard from Matt Gaetz. People have asked me over and over, so I'm just going to answer this publicly. Why aren't you at the RNC? Someone just called me actually from Italy and said, why weren't you at the Republican National Committee? Well, first of all, I worked as a Democrat for years and years. Then I'm an independent. I've never voted Republican before. And, although I recognize and I see the way Donald Trump has been treated by the elite predator class, which are both Democrat and Republican, and the way they've, gone so far with all their lawfare to try to, shut him up. And then, I believe, that there was an attempt on his life, and I believe that there was a cabal behind that. I don't think it was just this one crazy dude. And I'm not alone in thinking that. I think a lot of other people that are very more intelligent than me think that too, and know a lot more than I do. And Tucker Carlson actually predicted it. So did Alex Jones months ago. So did Roger Stone years ago, that Donald Trump, that they would try to take him out. And because he's talking about dismantling the CIA and the DOJ. He's talking about doing things that they don't want to hear about. He's also talking about economic competition as opposed to having endless wars. Although he can be hawkish, and he's had very hawkish people in his administration, like Bolton, like Pompeo, who tried to assassinate Julian Assange, by the way. He's also expressed this time that he wants to end the conflict, and the aid that's going to Ukraine. No more billions. Like, we've already spent almost 200 billion on that, where hundreds of thousands of people have died, and it's basically this war against Russia that the United States should not be involved in, and NATO. Trump has also talked about dismantling NATO, which I agree with. I think NATO should be dismantled. It's of no use, and it's hawkish and warlike and causing conflict across the world. And we need peace, and we need economic prosperity. So as far as what I'm doing, people are asking me how I'm voting. It's a personal question, and I'm still weighing the options, but I'm looking at Trump. When he was almost assassinated, of course, there was an emotional thing about seeing someone almost killed, that was a political opponent to Biden. I've been how Biden views me as a political opponent as well, because I was talking out about his corruption and exposing that. And so, I definitely see the pattern of behavior of the elite predator class and how they're definitely trying to take out the political opposition. So I'm weighing, looking into that. However, if Nikki Haley, for instance, is chosen as Secretary of State, I don't, that's the same thing. You're going to have the same duopoly. You're going to have the same warlike, hawk-like, thing. So, this is what I wanted to say. When I decide how I'm going to vote, I may not be public about it, but one thing I will say is that the violence towards whistleblowers and towards political opponents must end, because that is definitely not a healthy republic or democracy. And the US has to improve. So today I have with me a guest that we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on with politics. And he's in Chicago. And he actually he's the OG of podcasts. He started after 2016. And I've been on his show at least 4 times. And I can't believe he hasn't been on my show yet. So this is the first time. He's really great. He has great taste in everything except pizza. He's from Chicago, so he seems to think Chicago pizza dominates, and we'll have a very deep discussion about that, about deep dish. So without further ado, I want to introduce the brilliant Kit Cabello of Hardline Media. Hi, Kit. Thanks for coming.
It is very good to be here on your show. Thank you for this privilege, Tara. As always, I am grateful, and it's good to see you back here in the States. Congratulations again to you and your daughter. I hope it was a wonderful event, a wedding, and may there be countless more good times around the corner and for all tomorrows. How does that sound? But yes, I do have the best taste, and the best taste in pizza as well. So yeah, Hardlens Media, finally, dream come true. I'm on your show. Can't wait. There's a lot to talk about, a whole treasure trove of things. I can't believe it. There's stuff even breaking when I'm doing my morning show, and I think, oh boy, how am I going to fit this all in here in a 2.5-hour time frame? It's kind of crazy.
It is. So I wanted to start, to educate our audience. Hardlands Media is a very popular show, much more popular than Politics and Survival. You're out there, everybody sees it, so hopefully we have some of your audience here watching today and supporting you. Tell us, tell us when you started and why you started it, and your kind of your trajectory, where you're going and whatnot.
Okay, so this is a fun story. So, okay, a beginning is a very delicate time. My favorite line from Dune. So Hardlens Media, it was a series of events, because it wasn't just me that founded Hardlens Media. It was 2 people, myself and Daniel Lupker, who is the person who runs also 99 Perspectives, our studio. He takes care of a lot of the administrative stuff. So let's talk from the beginning. 2013, I graduated from college, majored in political science, minored in news media and journalism, and
Oh, wow.
for about 10 months, I was unemployed. It was the worst 10 months of my life. But little would I know that I would eventually run into far more vile months and years further on down the road. But 2013, graduate. I applied to a lot of jobs, and at the end of those 10 months, only Costco was the one that got back to me. And from 2014 to 2019, I worked at Costco, but in 2015, that was the beginning of the election cycle. And I was also part of a group called Wolfpack, which was an organization under TYT at the time, which was calling for an Article 5 convention to get money out of politics. And that's where I met Daniel. We managed to get Illinois to become the third state to be recognized for calling for this Article 5 convention to get money out of politics. But eventually, with all things, we wanted to do more, but Wolfpack just didn't know what to do with us. And eventually, the old guard that made Illinois Wolfpack went its separate ways, but me and Daniels continue to hang out. And then one day, I get a phone call from him saying, "Hey, Kit, I'd really like you to join me on this radio show." And I'm like, "Okay, Dan, I'll show up." And so for this is the proto years of Hardlands Media. We were on Q4 radio, so we really didn't know what we were doing. Q4 radio. We did an impromptu trip to Philadelphia to cover the DNC convention, which was, boy, I'll never forget Philly. Not only was it a hot summer, but it was also the true brutality of the Clinton machine and what it did to progressives. And so as we were leaving Philly, and eventually as 2016 was going to become 2017, the original thing that we were starting, we left it. Me and Daniel together went our own way, and we didn't know what we wanted to do until at the end of December, early January of 2017. Yeah, 2017 of January. I get a phone call from Daniel and says, "Hey, Kit, I got an idea. Let's create a show, an independent media network. We're not trained for this marathon race. We're facing off against 100,000 better, more fit competitors, but I think we could do it." And from there on in, 2017, we were on Q4 radio. Then we went on to WCGO. We had our presence on CAN TV, Channel 21, and eventually setting up on YouTube. And for about 7 years, myself and Daniel Lupker have been doing this. We've had, various iterations of Hard Lens Media. And together, him and I have really built this independent media network up with the great support of our colleagues in independent media like Jimmy Dore and so many others, and our viewing audience, especially our audience that really believed in our work, our labor, and the things that we've created as an independent media network. And right now, we are one of the fastest growing morning shows for online media. And I'm very proud of the footprint that we have here in Chicago. From what I've been told from my colleagues in CAN TV, we have a very popular evening show. And we now also have a presence on Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey, and Kick. And, with everything that comes along the way, we've had our trials and tribulations. And we've been censored by those who did not want to hear our voices 9 times. We've gone through the censorship, deplatforming, demonetized, terminated, and we've been always in the fight for our lives, and we've always run into people who thought that they knew better or acted like armchair generals trying to tell me and Daniel what we should do or who we should interview or how we should run things. But at the end of the day, we have remained undefeated due to the fact that we have such a loyal audience, a diehard team. Shout out to my colleagues, Faze and Lauren. We're right now all doing our own things right now because of the studio. We're working on different projects because Hard Lens Media is somewhat connected to 99 Perspectives, our main studio. And there's a lot of work that we're trying to do here and diversify because we almost lost everything in 2020 due to the lockdowns. And we've always been in the fight. We've never known a year of peace because the work that we do as a network, as a presence here in Chicago is valuable. And I'm just very proud of what we have done. And that's just like a short rant of just where and what we've done. We've now actually crossed a milestone on YouTube, 15 million views collectively for all of our videos.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, and we're now at, I think, approximately, let me just get this correct. Let me just refresh the page here. 52,881 subscribers on our main YouTube page, which has gone through the test of time. The only way to stop Hard Lens Media is if I'm 6 feet under, and that's not happening anytime soon.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic. So yeah, that answers that question. And I know you have a positive relationship with Jimmy Dore, and you there's a lot of back and forth and lifting of each other. So that's good. We all need to, in our independent space here, to help each other and lift each other, because there's a lot of censorship from the social media. I mean, I've been demonetized, as you know, on YouTube, and my videos pulled down. And then on Facebook, I don't even have a Facebook presence because my name is election interference from 2020. So yeah, it's the censorship is for real, and it's if you just go against the narrative, the warmongering narrative, pretty much. So I wanted to ask you, Kit, because we'll get back to pizza because that's a very important discussion. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about the politics, because Chicago is going to be the home of the Democratic National Committee. Now, you just saw the RNC; they just had their night with Tucker Carlson gave a speech. Donald Trump accepted the nomination after the attempted assassination last week. Could you give like your impression of that? What just happened over the last few days to this, presidential election?
Okay, I'll actually I've been meaning to say this, and I'm kind of going like on an ego trip here, and I don't mean to be too smug about it, but I remember saying in 2023.
Yeah.
That the 2024 election cycle, and look, I've been saying in all my videos in 2023 and even early 2024 that this election cycle, it was not going to be the most important, because it's not. It's not the most important. That's been played out by corporate media. That's irrelevant. But it will be the most interesting and most hilarious, and it hasn't disappointed. This by far, we have never seen such a shakeup of this election cycle. So how would you like me to break it down? Do you want me to talk about Trump, Biden, third parties, or do you want me to put them all
I think
together?
right now, let's start with the Trump and Biden. Let's start with the assassination attempt and go from there, because that was a shocker.
Okay, well, first of all, look, what happened to Donald Trump was wrong. I do not support that. I hate that. In fact, I'm so glad that he's alive, because if things had gone different, if things have gone more grimdark, I don't think you and I would be talking right now. I think there'd be a lot of instability. I think there'd be a lot of anger and rage and sadness. And and again, I want to be very clear. I could be critical of a politician or a campaign, but I don't want to see anybody die or get hurt or come to them or something to maim them or hurt them or their family members or their friends. I don't want to see that. I can have disagreements with people, but I don't want to see that kind of stuff happen. And unfortunately, a person did lose their lives, a firefighter who was trying to protect his family attending that event. And there were 2 other people injured, but they're now in stable condition, or they're doing better now. So that's great. But however, a person did lose their life. But we have to look at what happened to Trump. You see, the thing is, corporate media has portrayed Trump as Hitler 2.0. Donald Trump and Hitler are 2 different people altogether. And we have to be mature here. We have to be serious here. The media created this environment. It's the media in 2016 that gave Trump billions of dollars worth of free press. It is corporate media that promoted the idea that Trump was going to destroy our democracy, which we don't have. We have a constitutional republic, but really we're an oligarchy. That's what we are. But again, Trump didn't destroy anything. It was like that when he got here. Just like that line from The Simpsons when Homer was teaching Bart how to shave and what lines to use if you get in trouble. It was like that when I got here. When Trump walked in, he inherited the mess from the Obama-Biden administration. Kids in cages, 7 wars, unchecked corruption. It was like that when he got there, and he removed the neoliberal mask, and corporate media didn't like it. The Democratic and Republicans didn't like that. And so they're saying, oh, well, Trump's a threat, Trump's a threat. And when you have mentally unhinged people who have Trump derangement syndrome, they're going to say, well, I need to be the hero to save the day. And what happened, you have this unhinged kid grab a rifle, grab an AR-15, and point this loaded weapon at not only a presidential candidate, but a crowd of civilians. I have to say, I'm glad that he's alive. And that $1 billion iconic photo is what's going to launch Donald Trump into his second term. He has successfully secured his reelection. I would be surprised if he loses. But you remember what also led up to this too, this fear of Trump. He dominated and defeated Biden at that first debate. Then you have Biden's interview with George Snuffleupagus. And then finally you have Biden's big boy press event. And throughout all of that, all three of these scenarios, or all three of these situations that take place, sorry about that, not scenarios, situations that take place, Trump is on the roll. He is succeeding in all the polls, and the Democrats are confused. You have many scared, immature, unserious people. And that's what led to this assassination attempt. And one last time, I am glad he is alive. That's not an endorsement. I'm just glad he's alive, because there have been a couple of moments this week where I'm doing some kind of work, or I'm working on the show, or I'm getting ready to cook dinner, and I'm thinking, my goodness, we avoided a fatal situation. If Trump had been in any other position or any other way, we would not be talking, Tara. We would not be talking.
No, I know we wouldn't. No. It would have led to the instability of the entire nation. Yeah. And would have been horrific loss of life. I mean, it's a horrific thing. He has a family. He's a person with a family who loves him. And what a terrible thing. And like the firefighter that lost his life, he had 2 daughters. And, I've seen one of the daughters on social media. She's really grieving in front. And, that's the thing. She's grieving in the public square. And it's a very tough thing for a young person to have to do over a senseless act, a very senseless act. But I kind of part ways with you on one thing. I think it was an inside job. This is totally my opinion. I think it was planned. And I think it was done because, and I say this because I've experienced the extreme death threats from, the Biden camp. When they can't when they can't destroy your reputation, when they can't destroy you legally, then they go after you physically. And that's kind of their pattern. And, that's why you had people like Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones saying, hey, they're going to try to kill him. And they did. What's really remarkable to me is, I wanted your opinion about this. Joy Reade and Jen Psaki were on a show together, and they were talking about. You know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say.
Here's the thing. There's a show that I'm right now rewatching again. I actually introduced it to Daniel. It's called Succession, and it's about this insanely rich family that controls like a corporate media outlet. And
right.
My favorite line from Logan Roy. Wait, have you seen the whole series, or because I don't want to?
I have the whole series.
Okay, my favorite line is Logan Roy's last line to his children: "I love you, but you are not serious people." Corporate media, MSNBC, liberals, vote blue no matter who, Democrats. I love you, but you are not serious people. So okay, was that? I filibustered enough. Okay, tell us.
But okay. So Reef, if you have a photo or something handy, you can put it up. But basically, Joy Reade and Jen Psaki were having their conversation about the horrific event of the attempted assassination, which they then compared it to Biden having COVID. And Jen Psaki and Joy Reade were trying to present the argument that, well, he's an elderly man, and isn't, having COVID the same as surviving an assassination? Isn't that a show of strength? And it's like, what? I don't even understand. And I thought they were joking at first when they went down this little road. They were serious. And like you said, then that just shows that they're not serious people, because that's just... They were ratioed completely on social media. And then Joy Reade followed it with a rant on TikTok that she was convinced that Donald Trump wasn't actually shot, that it was a shard from the teleprompter hit his ear of glass. But the photos. And a doctor that said it was that. And the Democrats they're spinning. They're in crisis mode. They've gone from what what operatives call the war room to the panic room. They're in a panic room.
Oh, good. Let them panic. I'm feasting on this. Look, Tara, I don't mean to cut you off. I know this is your show, but
no, go ahead.
To get this off my chest. From 2016 up until now, do you have up until before the first debate took place? Hard Lens Media and everybody, yourself included, across the political spectrum, had to deal with the smugness, the arrogance, the pride of the liberal crowd. especially what happened after 2016 was Hillary Clinton, because she is not the she did not earn the nomination. Right now, Bernie Sanders was a
Right.
crock and let that happen to him. 2020 as well. Say, oh, see, you liberals better start voting for Biden. And then they did their whole bullying campaign in 2020 to make people feel guilty to support Biden. And all this time, especially during the Biden-Harris administration, don't worry, we just got to keep our powder dry. Trust Biden, hold his feet to the fire. We'll push him to the left. None of that ever happened. I was proven correct. Daniel was proven correct. And anybody that's been critical of the Biden-Harris administration has been proven correct. And so now they're panicking. Well, guess what, liberals? You said you didn't want progressives and independents. You told us that we better fall in line or else we're bad people. Or either that, you kept on trying to do whatever you can at the wall to make us feel bad. And it's not working. So the only thing I could say to you liberals right now as you're panicking is, this is not my problem. You did this to yourselves. No one can do you in like you can do yourself, liberals. Number two, you failed to read the political temperature in this country. Number three, you failed to follow through with any kind of progressive policies. Number four, AOC and Bernie Sanders and anyone else that's a progressive, quote unquote, progressive Democrat. You failed to follow through and implement progressive policies, most notably was forced to vote. But I'm just only mentioning just that one thing. That was a big one, the big reveal. But again, all these quote unquote progressives who are Democrats failed to follow through. And in turn, what does that lead to? People not being enthusiastic, people disengaging from politics, or either that, people looking for other alternatives like third parties or voting Republican, or either that, not voting at all, period, or looking at citizen ballot initiatives or any other way, but not associated with the Democrats. So you did this to yourselves. It's not my problem. And when you start knocking at my door or calling me up or giving me text messages, begging me to help, beg harder, beg harder, beg to me harder, beg me harder. Okay. Be on your, and show me, because I'm not convinced. And even then, beg harder, like show me that I should care. And they are failing to do so. And the DNC convention will be a clown show. It's not going to, hopefully it doesn't get like anything like from 1968, and hopefully it won't be a snore fest, but there's a lot of things that have me concerned about how the DNC convention will play out. And we're going to try our very best to cover it. But already there's some things there that myself and Daniel, we're going to have to be flexible about, in order to cover it properly, because this is going to be an event that no one should miss.
Well, you know what? I was going to ask your opinion about something. There's a rumor that started a couple of days ago that Biden's going to be dropping out of the race by this weekend, not the presidency. He apparently is too sick to be in the race, but not too sick to be president, however that works. Anyway, so he's going to drop out, but not endorse Kamala Harris. But what they're saying is at the convention, it's going to be Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. That's the ticket. What's your thoughts?
Well, I was talking about this on yesterday's show, and I said, like, hey, look, there are so many answers. We don't know. This is a dumpster fire. Earlier this morning, Morning Blow. Yeah, Morning Blow. That's what I call him. Joe Scarborough. Morning Blow.
Yeah.
Morning Blow and his wife, Mika. Mika, blink twice if you need help.
Mika, blink twice if you need help.
Yes, exactly.
Seriously.
She should. Blink twice if you need help. Did a segment where they're saying that the Biden and they had one of his campaign managers there saying that Biden's staying in the race. Then you hear from Newsmax at the RNC convention last night that Biden is open to idea of an open convention and not endorsing Kamala. And then we hear that there's talk about endorsing Kamala and Biden stepping aside. So we don't know what's going to happen. And see this.
And then you heard that the White House called all of it fan fiction, that Biden's not getting out of the race. So I don't know.
Yeah. And the thing is, this doesn't do any favors for the Democrats.
No.
And the reason why it doesn't do any favors for the Democrats is because you're causing confusion amongst your voting base. Who are they supporting? Yeah. And okay, so you have August. Okay, August comes around. Then you have September and October. Now, once the convention's done in August, you have September and October. 2 whole months. Now, a lot can happen in 2 whole months, but I don't think a new nominee would want to sacrifice themselves on the altar to face off against Trump and his huge momentum. No. And then you have Biden, who's a senile old goat who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. And this dude is incapable of actually facing off against Trump. So no matter what the Democrats do here, they're going to lose. And they had plenty of time to not be in this situation because there was a
Right.
primary. RFK Jr. was in it, Marianne Williamson, Dean Phillips, Fat Tony, aka Cenk Uygur. They were all in there, and the primary was lackluster and meaningless. So I could say this with absolute confidence. I don't know what the Democrats are going to do, but I do know whatever choice they make, it's going to still cost them the election. And that's not my problem, and it's not your problem, and it's not your viewing
Nope.
audience's problem. We
Hey,
move
I
on.
agree with you, but I do have a theory. If I were back in operative mode, like when I used to work, in campaigns or whatever, this is what I would do. And I'm not endorsing this candidate, this particular candidate that I'm mentioning because of their position on certain endless wars. So this is not an endorsement, but I'm saying
Right.
from a strategic point of view, if they had kept Kamala and had RFK run,
Mm-hmm.
that would pull some of those independent voters and do that. Now, my problem with RFK is, of course, Palestine
Oh,
and the
yeah.
genocide that's happening there. And he says he's anti-war, but his daughter-in-law, I believe it's his daughter-in-law, and I read her book actually, is former CIA and does not like discount it. She wrote a book about it, but she also, what I'm saying is she's supportive of the CIA. So it's not like he's gonna, and he gets a lot of APAC money, RFK does, and he also has a lot of attachment to the intelligence community, even though he says, that he wants to change it or get rid of it. But there's a lot of wishy-washiness. And there's even been some of that, his son fought for Ukraine in Ukraine. So I don't, so there's
Have
all
you
of that.
have you seen there was a 3-minute snippet that was posted on social media. Brianna Joy Gray interviewed Lisa Peace, or I
Mm-hmm.
think that's how you say her name, her last name. And again, Lisa was talking about her conversation with RFK Jr. on Brianna Joy Gray's show, and I'm still surprised that okay, if he really did say this, um, so Lisa was trying to tell RFK Jr. like, hey, you need to be anti-war for this thing with Gaza. This could really separate you from
Mm-hmm.
the other candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And RFK Jr. did not respond well to that, and then to which he said,
No.
this is Lisa's words, Lisa's, not mine, Lisa's words that RFK Jr. said to her. Maybe it's okay if they all just disappear or go away, which means
Whoa.
I will send you the link. You follow me on Twitter, I will private message you that link.
Wow.
If yeah, I'll send it to you right now if you want.
Well, I believe it. I believe it because he's been terrible on that issue.
Yeah.
And but that's what I mean. But I'm saying from a strategic point of view, because the Democrats are in the toilet, that's how you could salvage it. Is you have to pull a candidate that's kind of like an independent or on the outside. The other one is they might pick Cheney, which is like again another war pig. But there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
They might pick Liz Cheney, who's actually, she's a Republican, but she's actually a Democrat. She's going to come out as a Democrat at some point. But I don't know. She doesn't have enough name recognition. And Gavin Newsom they can't have Gavin and Kamala on the same ticket because they're both from California. They need someone from another state that's in play. But you're right. I think they've lost it. They know they've lost it. I think at this point they're scrambling to save the Senate and the House seats. Would you say?
Well, no matter what the Democrats do, it's still going to cost them. Like, again, perception drives reality. Every Democrat,
Yeah.
up until that first debate, was swinging hard for Joe Biden. They were part of that Greek phalanx
Yeah.
and that shield wall to protect Joe Biden. And like the Greek
Yeah.
phalanx against the Roman legion, the Legion of Truth, it broke
Yes.
and it shattered. So that phalanx is outdated, irrelevant, and anyone who is part of it has lost all credibility. Anybody that supported Joe Biden in 2020 or endorsed him has lost a lot of credibility because there was something wrong with Joe Biden. And so if that costs Democrats seats at the state level, federal level, that's on them. I can't help you. There's nothing I can do.
I hear you. I hear you. So I have a question about you're in Chicago. So what is coming up with the DNC, and as you said, Heartlands Media is going to be there. How do you visualize your coverage of it, and what are you going to be doing with your shows for that during that time?
So it pains me to say this. I did apply to get DNC press passes to get inside. Now, Heartlands Media, we do have press credentials by the city of Chicago, so we are legitimate press. We have press passes. Myself and my colleague Daniel. So we will try to get in, but I don't think we're going to get in anywhere near or inside. I would love if there was a situation where then fine, but I'm not expecting us to make a miracle or anything of that nature. But what we are going to do is we are going to be interviewing the activists and organizers, as well as collaborating and meeting up with some of our friends in independent media. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of things to take into account, because a lot of the DNC, especially by the United Center, McCormick Place, they are building up and putting more, security around the area. Obviously, they do it late at night, morning, that kind of stuff. But what's happening now is they are displacing a tent community. Now, if you come to Chicago, you will see the tragedy of homelessness in the city of Chicago. There are tent cities and tent towns underneath bridges in empty lots. And there was one in particular by the United Center, which is where the Chicago Bulls and Chicago Blackhawks play. But those people are being displaced. That tent area is being torn down, and they're going to be sent to a homeless shelter. But the people who are already in the homeless shelter have been kicked out. So the displacing homeless people, the displaced homeless people, you have activists,
what a mess.
You have the pro-Palestinian protesters, you have the pro-choice women protesters, you have people critical of the Democratic Party. You even have an organization trying to recall Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, all trying to protest against the DNC. And what the city of Chicago is doing is making sure they're at least out of sight, out of mind. So homeless people gone, protesters nowhere near, and they're being very selective of who in the press will be there. So we will be
interesting
at that area.
Because you know what I'm hearing is that most of it's going to be online.
Yes, and half of it will be online. Half of it will be online.
Half of it will be that only one day is actually in person, and that Biden might not even be there.
Yeah.
Well, now especially, but like even this is back before he was dropping out, supposedly. But he might not. But he has to be there at some point. But they might do a televised message or whatever, which is interesting. And now they can use the excuse of COVID, maybe. But I don't know. It's not for a few weeks, so they can't keep saying COVID. So I don't know.
I will be doing everything in my power, myself and Daniel, to do interviews with activists and organizers. And what you should know is, too, because it's not only just the city of Chicago where the convention is going to happen and Biden getting selected, but there's a mayoral recall. This one man in particular has united a huge coalition all across Chicago to recall Mayor Brandon Johnson. And those pro-Palestinian protesters, they are also in a lawsuit against the city of Chicago, because the city of Chicago was denying them the right to protest. So there's a hotbed of news taking place there. Plus Jimmy Dore.
That is because remember Skokie, Illinois and Chicago, when they allowed the Nazis to walk through the Jewish neighborhood, they allowed the Nazis to march, and they protected the Nazis. The Chicago police did.
Well, the protesters, the pro-Palestinian protesters, are not going to get that privilege. The pro-choice women are not going to get those
So let me get this straight. So they will protect literal Nazis before they protect anti-war people. Okay.
Anyone that's going to be critical or protesting the Democratic Convention is going to be denied access. Now, if they do show up and they're there and they're a little bit closer, then that's a surprise. But on my show, in the last couple of weeks, when I did a Chicago segment about the protests, you have the CPD and you have other people saying, oh, they're going to be a little bit ways. We've had two members of the pro-Palestinian protesters on our show talking about how they're not going to be like anywhere near the area because the permits to protest are going to be way away from the United Center. So we will see what happens. This story will be developing, but it is clear to me that the Democrats want to put on this pretty picture. But they can't, especially after what we saw with the RNC convention. It's going to be night and day. They're going to try and outdo what Trump did. They're going to try and outdo the celebrities. I mean, there's energy in the Republican camp. I mean, and this is not an endorsement of Trump, but there's energy there.
Unity energy.
Yeah, unity, energy, and support with their candidate. You have none of that with the Democrat
Because they
Party.
don't know who the candidate is. Yeah. No leadership.
All of that confusion. That goes right back to your original question.
Yeah.
You know, who was Biden staying in or is he getting out? Is he going to be
Yeah.
replaced or is it going to be open convention or is it going to be Kamala? Who will it be? We don't know, but no matter what choice the Democrats make, it's a disaster.
Meanwhile, the third party candidates like Jill Stein, like everyone else, is out by not being allowed to be on the ballot, by not being allowed to debate, by not being allowed to be in the media. So you know you have all that, but they're all basically used by the different parties to divide votes anyway. And from my perspective, they're just used to divide votes. They're not really actual. There's not an actual movement towards a third party of any kind.
Yeah, and my criticism of third parties is, they, especially the Greens and the Libertarians. The Libertarians not so much, but I'm not really impressed with their nominee this year.
No, I'm not either.
But the Libertarians and Greens in 2016 had an opportunity to really lay the groundwork and foundations to build a strong third-party movement, and it's been utterly disappointing. RFK Jr. is an independent candidate. I'm surprised how well he has done, but again, he's not my cup of tea, and I don't think anything's going to happen. And then there's Dr. Cornel West in his campaign, and it's nothing more than a fart in the wind. So I would say to all four, I mean, never before have we seen third parties get this much attention, but they could have done so much more. They could have been more organized. There was a lot. I'll be surprised if third parties get at least above 2%. 2%
or 4%. At the most 4%, but that's only in certain places. Yeah, but they're not even on the ballot in most places. Yeah, you're right.
And New York and Illinois are like the last two, especially for the Greens. And the Libertarians got 48 states ballot access. They're not on New York and they're not in Illinois. Illinois is very draconian towards third parties. So I mean, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. If I can't vote for a third party or independent candidate, I'll just leave it blank.
You could write it someone in.
Yeah, I could do that too.
You could just write Reef in. Reef for president.
Know what? That is a Reef 2024.
What do you think, Reef?
I decline the offer for tribute. My head movement is not good enough. Clearly.
Hunger Games.
You're it. You're it, man. Reef 2024. You are my president.
As long as I don't praise Pompeo, I think I'm doing better than most of the candidates in the race. So.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, there you have it. There you have it.
Reef, I'm writing in your name. I'm writing in your name, dude.
They might think you mean something else if you put Reaper down there, but that's just me.
That's fine. That's fine.
So Reef, I was gonna ask, could you pull up the contact for Kit? So I wanted audience that isn't familiar with your show with Heartland, they can contact you on social media, and then if Reef could comments and put it out for people to see.
Okay, yeah. So where people can find me online? Well, first of all, Hard Lens Media. We are live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central on YouTube, Rumble, Rockfin, Odyssey, and Kick. So 9 a.m. Chicago time, the correct time. And I'm the one who hosts the show, producer, editor. Daniel takes care of all the administrative and business stuff. So, I'm the one who puts it all together, interviews and stuff. I'm the jack of all trades, but I got to acknowledge what Daniel does. Without Daniel, we would not have this entire system. So he's the mastermind behind the whole system. So shout out to Daniel. And, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We also have a Patreon page if people want to support us. Oh, hey, there's my original Twitter account too. So there you go. I love that you pulled that up there.
There you
especially Deathmatch in Hell. That was my time in Shinjuku in Japan. So I plan on going back to Japan very soon. I don't know when, but someday, just not today because I love Japan. But if you do want to reach out, we're more than happy to have interesting guests and people on our show. I love doing the morning show, and I'm just very honored because originally we weren't a morning show. We were afternoon, late evening kind of show, and I'm very happy that the audience has embraced this morning schedule, and I really love doing the show in the morning. As I tell my people, start your morning right, and Righteously Angry is Hard Lens Media. And, it's we've gone through a lot these past 7 years, censorship, the platform termination, demonetization, shadow ban. losing friends and gaining friends, building alliances, and more or less just standing strong. And we have faced the fires, and we're not going anywhere. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to stop. And at the end of the day, for those who choose to stand against us, for those who choose to criticize and try and bring us down, we will win, and anything is possible when you win. And you, Tara, have been an inspiration to us too, because you are what I like to call one of the dauntless few who speaks truth to power, and you haven't wavered. And I am very honored to have you on our show. I think you've been on our show 5 times, not 4 times. I think 5 times. So
5 times 4.
yeah,
I
so
thought it was 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, thank you so much,
yes.
Kit. It was an honor to have you on my show, and Hardlands Media is always a friend to us. And thank you, Reef, for producing again and doing this, pulling this together. And for all of you that are watching, I want to thank all my new supporters. Please look at the comments here. You can contact Kit with more questions or follow what he's doing at the DNC convention in Chicago. That ought to be, so you don't have to watch Legacy Media and Joy Reade and Jen Psaki, who wants to watch that. So, and then also please remember to sign my petition and share it. We need to get that up to close to 10,000 signatures. So please get that out there, because we want to hold Joe Biden accountable. And I will keep fighting, because my fight is for the person behind me. The people behind me, they're coming up, whistleblowers. It's important that we show them that their tactics don't work to silence. When there's corruption, we should be able to question our government and those members of the government that are acting in bad ways or committing crimes. We need to be able to expose that without having our own lives destroyed in the process. So thank you for your support watching Politics of Survival. We'll be back next week and live. And I so appreciate you tuning in and giving us all your support. Go out there and have a wonderful day, and buckle up, because it's election season in America. Bye, everyone.